here yet. Is the heat on?
No.
It's a little chilly in here.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. That's a song, right? Isn't that a song? Did I make it up? The heat is on. Isn't that a song? From the 80s? 90s? I don't remember. Yeah, I thought it was a song. We need the heat to also be on. Well, hopefully it'll warm up in here in a little bit if our heat kicks on. It might be the first time the heat's been on in this room, so we'll see if it, at least since last, I don't know if I can call it winter, but since last winter, I still like, oh, last winter was, yeah, the week that we went to Orange Beach, it was like so cold. I'm like sitting there in my winter coat with my like mug of hot tea, and Eliana and Josh were like, let's put our feet in the water. I'm like, no, just because we live here does not mean, yeah. But it's not winter like every other winter of my life.
What you think about those people in the polar bear clubs? The ones that
Oh, that like jump into the yeah, I have never been one to do that, but yeah, my daughter and husband did dip their toes in the water when we were at Orange Beach last Christmas, which was in the 30s. It was definitely in the 30s. It was like the coldest. You're right.
Well, the water was warmer than the air.
If the water was probably warmer than the air, but I was comfortable in my winter coat drinking my hot tea sitting on a chair. I went for a walk on the beach with them. I did not get in, but you know, still, I didn't scrape any ice off my car or shovel any snow, which I have been part of in all my previous locations of living. What?
People do that somewhere?
Yes, absolutely. I had to plan to leave my house earlier than I normally did in the winter because your car needed to warm up. In Kansas, we had a garage. In New Jersey, we didn't. But the garage was helpful. When we were looking for a house here, we were like, what do you mean we're going to buy a house without a garage? And then I was like, because we have a carport. And I was like, oh, you don't really need the same insulation as we needed before. So, Shabbat Shalom. So great for us to be together. And if the room doesn't warm up with the heat that Steve kicked on for us, we will warm it up with our prayers. I'm going to invite you to open your prayer book now to page 192. Ma tovu, o halecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu, o halecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael, ve'ani berov chastecha, avo beitecha, eshtacha ve'elhecha kodshecha, be'yiratecha. Ma tovu, o halecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. Adonai ahavti me'on beitecha, umkon mishkan kivodecha, mishkan kivodecha. Va'ani eshtacha ve'echra, evrecha lifnei did this one. Ve'ani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon Elohim berov chastecha Elohim berov chastecha Aneni be'emet yishecha Ma tovu, ma tovu, O halecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. I was just checking to see if you were awake. If I wouldn't have said anything, you wouldn't have all kept singing that second paragraph again, I think. Yeah. It was... who it was it you? Someone asked me once, how do you know when to go back to the chorus? Was that you? Yeah. And I was like, you just know, right? Like I didn't really have an answer. I was like, well, we took these liturgical pieces, they were set to music, and we sing them. But there are so many different ways that you can sing them. So I forgot which paragraph we had already done. Would anybody have called me out? Come on, friends. Come on, friends. We would have done it. Henry would have called me out. You would have let me know after services, though, right? I don't know if you would have stopped me in the middle.
Steve told me to tell you
That is true. That is true. You know, this was different. That was a mistake. You might not remember. I do, and I will for the rest of my life. My very, very, very first Friday night service here, I repeated a verse of Lakado D. I had no idea I did it. Absolutely no idea until later on my lovely husband was like, you know, you did Likrat Shabbat twice. And I was like, well, they really wanted to welcome Shabbat, didn't they? Because nobody said anything to me.
What about the Kiddush cup?
Did I mess up Kiddush too that night? I don't even remember.
You drank from it, it had holes around it.
Oh, was that my first night also? That wasn't me though. Adding repeating a stanza in Lakado D was my fault. I had forgotten that, but now, Reggie, thank you for reminding me. My first Friday night here, somebody decided to punk me, and they handed me a beautiful Kiddush cup that wasn't solid. And so there were beautiful holes in it. I don't think that cup is still in our kitchen. And I take a drink, you are absolutely right, and it just came out. And I was like, welcome to Baton Rouge. Who knows? Who knows? But you know, we are all human. We all... make mistakes. Maybe I really wanted to sing about how much I love God. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know, because I repeated that paragraph. But, or maybe it's because I'm not quite awake yet. So let's each take a deep breath. You'd think I'd be awake. We've been together for over an hour. As we inhale, let us think about something lovely that's happened to us for the past week or month or so. It's been a little bit hard to find those moments of joy. Let's find one. And as we exhale, let's try to exhale our tiredness away. Let's exhale our burdens away. Let's exhale the to-do list that we didn't cross off during our holiday week away. And let us enter prayer. I invite you to maybe move your head around a little bit and move your shoulders and feel your fingertips, if you can. It is cold in here, and your toes, as we thank God for the moments we have with our body, whether they be working or not. Let us read together at the top of page 195. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware, we would lack the strength to stand before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, rofe kol basar umafli la'asot. Page 196. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi, tehorahi. Let us continue together in the English. My God, the soul you have given me is pure. You created it, you shaped it, you breathed it into me, and you protect it within me. For as long as my soul is within me, I offer thanks to you, Adonai, my God, and God of my ancestors, source of all creation, sovereign of all souls. Praised are you, Adonai, in whose hand is every living soul and the breath of humankind. Baruch atah Adonai, asher b'yado nefesh kol chai, veruach kol basar ish. We continue chanting our blessings for daily miracles, beginning on page 198. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan l'sachvivina lehavchin ben yom uvein laila. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, zokef kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, rokah haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, malbi sharumim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hanotein le'ayef koach. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hama'avir sheina me'enai, ushnuma me'afapai. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tselem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani bat chorin. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Ozer Yisrael bigvura. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Oter Yisrael b'tifara. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. I don't know about you, but I know when we just chanted Matir Asurim together this morning, that is definitely one that is on my heart, and hopefully waiting with bated breath that more people will be freed soon. I'm also thinking this morning about how we are in what's called Thanksgiving weekend, right? Thanksgiving used to be a day, and then it became the day before Thanksgiving, and then Thanksgiving. And then it became the day before that and Thanksgiving. And now my daughter had the entire week off of school because Thanksgiving became an entire week-long activity where you get to think about the things that you are thankful for. And then it continued yesterday and into this weekend. So as we think about both our Nisim B'Kol Yom, the little things we are thankful for, and being part of this time in American culture where you take a whole week to think about what you're thankful for. I'm curious if anybody's been thinking about something they want to share to bring a little bit more light to our morning. Something you are thankful for.
Well, our weekend centered around the release of those few hostages.
Absolutely.
I mean, I was so overjoyed, but still grieved for the others. But that was a big thank you for me.
Absolutely.
Small thing, but I'm grateful that my dog gets along with my cats.
It's important.
I was gonna say, I think every day,
beautiful. Anybody else?
Well, I'm thankful for the friends I was invited to, family that I go to eat with every Thanksgiving. They had their entire family, and it was just like they were my family.
Mm.
I was so accepted. As a single person, when people invite you in, it's just special.
Yeah.
So I had that kind of thing.
Beautiful. My family too joined another family. It was all their family. And then Josh, Eliana, and I, which was so nice to kind of just join their family for a day. Technology allows us to connect to family near and far though, right? So we also were able to hop on FaceTime with all of the family was in New York together and hop on FaceTime with all of the family that was in Ohio together. So I would say right now, I too am thankful for the ability to physically be present with people, but also to be present with people even if they're not in the same room as me. Page 206, we read together. These are things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study, morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all. We turn together to page 212. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam baruch hu. Baruch oseh eshit. Baruch omer ve'oseh. Baruch gozer u'mkayem. Baruch merachem al ha'aretz. Baruch merachem al Baruch chai la'ad v'kayam la'netzach. Let us continue in the English on the bottom of the page. It's about 4 lines up where you see with songs. With songs of praise we extol you and proclaim your sovereignty. For you are the source of life in the universe. One God, life of the universe, praised and glorious ruler, your name is eternal. Blessed are you, Adonai, sovereign who is glorified through praise. Baruch atah Adonai, melech mechulal, batish bachot. Page 214. Mizmor shir leyom hashabbat, tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer lishimcha elyon, ulezamer lishimcha elyon, lehagid baboker chastecha, ve'emunatcha baleilot, alei asor ve'alei navel, alei higayon bechinor. Mizmor shir leyom hashabbat, tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer lishimcha elyon, ulezamer lishimcha elyon. Ki simachtani Adonai befo'alecha, b'ma'aseh yadecha aranein, ma gadlu ma'asecha Adonai, me'od amku makshavotecha. Mizmor shir leyom hashabbat, tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer lishimcha elyon, ulezamer lishimcha elyon. Skip to the indented words. Tzadika tamar yifrach, ke'erez balvanon yiskeh, shetulim beve yoshvei vetecha, od hallelujah selah. Ashrei. Tehillah leDavid, Arimcha Elohai HaMelech, Va'avracha Shimcha leolam va'en. Gadol Adonai u'melal me'od, v'ligdulato ein cheker. Hadar kevod hodecha, v'divrei niflotecha asicha. Zecher rav tucha yabiu, v'sitatecha yiranenu. Tov Adonai lakol, v'rachamav al kol ma'asav. Kevod malchutecha yomeru, ugvuratecha yedaberu. Malchutecha malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha b'kol dor vador. Einei kol elecha yasaberu, va'atem noten lahem et ochlam be'ito. Tzadik Adonai b'kol derachav, v'chasid b'kol ma'asav. Ritzon Yere'av Ya'aseh, ve'et shavatam yishma v'yoshiem. Tehillat Adonai yedaber pi, v'yivarek kol basar shem kodsho leolam va'ed. V'nachnu nevarech ya, me'ata ve'ad olam. Page 218. Hallelujah, 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 El B'Kodsho, hallelujah, B'Kiya Uzo, hallelujah, Big Vurotav, hallelujah, Kerov Gudlo, hallelujah, 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 b'teika shofar, hallelujah, benevel v'chinor, hallelujah, b'tofu machol, hallelujah, b'minim ve'ugav, hallelujah, 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 b'tziot tzalei shama, hallelujah, b'tziot tzalei trua, kol hanshema tehallelya, hallelujah, hallelujah. Miriam, will you lead us in Nishmat? bless your name, Adonai our God, and the spirit of all flesh glorify and exalt your name forever, O sovereign. In space and time, you alone are God. We have no sovereign besides you, God of the first and the last, God of all creatures, who is praised in a multitude of praises, who guides the world with abundant loving kindness, and all creatures with mercy. Adonai neither slumbers nor sleeps. God awakens the sleeping, arouses those who slumber, gives speech to the mute, and God loosens the bonds of captives. God supports the fallen and strengthens those who are bent over. You alone do we acknowledge. Page 222. Thank you, Miriam. Page 224. Yit gadol v'yit kadash shemei rabba. Ve'alma divrach yotev yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayete kol beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, ubizman kariv ve'imeru. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach, le'olam olam me'omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shemei dekudasha richu, le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma ve'imeru. As we turn the page to page 226, I invite you to please rise. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai lai 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 lai. Yai la lai. be seated. We read together on page 228. Praised are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of light and darkness, who makes peace and fashions all things. In mercy you illumine the world and those who live upon it. In your goodness you daily renew creation. How numerous are your works, Adonai. In wisdom you form them all, filling the earth with your creatures. Be praised, Adonai our God, for the excellent work of your hands and for the lights you created. May they glorify you. Shine a new light upon Zion, that we all may swiftly merit its radiance. Praised are you, Adonai, creator of all heavenly lights. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer Hameorot. We read together page 231 in the middle. Love your neighbor as yourself, you said, and light blinded we saw that inner and outer worlds are one, as you are one. You spoke and we wrote. We reached for you down the centuries, your light moving before us as we climbed, fell back, and climbed again, your Sinai of life. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava. As we turn the page and find the words of Shema, I invite you to rise if you wish. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated. We continue chanting together, page 234. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'kol avavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha v'hayu hadavarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha Hayom al levavecha, vishinantam levanecha, vidibarta bam, beshivtecha b'veitecha, uvleftecha vaderech, ushokbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot beineinecha, Uchtavtam al mezuzo beitecha uvisharecha. Turn the page, continue together. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor, daber el bnei Yisrael, ve'amarta alehem, ve'asu lahem tzitzit, al kanfei bigdehem ledorotam, ve'natnu al tzitzit hakanaf betil techelet, ve'haya lachem letzitzit, uritem oto, uzchartem eko mitzvot Adonai, va'asitem otam, ve'lo taturu acharei levavchem, ve'acharei einechem, asher atem zonim achareihem. Leman tizkeru, va'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'hitem kiroshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, lihiot lachem le'elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet. So since we just chanted about the commandment that comes from Torah to have fringes on our four corners, love to share with you, last night we had an LSU student who is taking a religion class join us for services. And after services, one of the questions he had for me was, how come the talit I was wearing was not white with blue stripes? Right? Which is when you're in a religion class and they teach you about Judaism and they put a picture on the screen of a talit. It looks a lot more like what Steve is wearing. I can't see the stripes on yours. What both Steves are wearing. What you guys are wearing, and less like what Judith and I have on this morning. And so my answer to him was, as I'm sure many of you know, what this part looks like is not what matters. I told him what matters is, we just chanted about it, the tzitzit, right, which means fringes. I'm going to ask you guys the same question I asked my bar and bat mitzvah students. How many knots are on my 4 tzitzit? Higher. 613. And why are there 613?
It represents the number of mitzvot.
Absolutely. So there are 613 commandments in Torah. So it represents 613 is why these knots are here. So yes, you'd have to do some fancy math. Has anybody tied their own tzitzit before? Yeah, me as well. So there are very special ways, a few different ways to tie it. And if you would do the math, I am not a math person, it has to do with the wraps and the knots and the numbers. But when we chant what we just chanted, we're chanting that thing that comes directly from Torah, where we're commanded to have tzitzit, fringes, on the 4 corners of our garment. So it's less matters my pink silky one here, or some of you might have heard me say when we first walked in this morning that I was cold and I needed to go get my warm talit, which my warm talit I designed myself at a place called Gabrielli off of Ben Yehuda Street in Israel, and it's like one of the big giant ones. You've seen me pull it out only here, I think, for consecration. But they come in all different shapes and sizes, but it's the knots that are, although could be tied differently, all exactly the same. And I'll say the same thing to you that I say to my bar and bat mitzvah students. So when I put this on, do I say I'm gonna start doing 613 commandments? You can't, right? Absolutely not. So even though we still chant it, and why can't you?
Well, because some commandments are just for men.
Absolutely.
For women.
Okay.
Some have to do with the sacrifices in the temple.
Absolutely, that we don't do anymore, right? So don't let any Jewish person come up to you and be like, well, I do all 613 commandments, because it is not possible. So what are we saying when we chant this phrase that we just chanted, or that when we wear a talit?
Aren't you surrounding yourself by God?
Okay, so one thing is that you're surrounding yourself by God. What else are we saying? Yeah.
My teaching was that it's God, wrapping yourself up in God. You're covering your face because Moses had to cover his face because he couldn't look upon God.
Yes, there is a tradition that during the Amidah that people put their talit over their face. There's also a tradition that the person who is sounding shofar on Rosh Hashanah would also cover their face. And so you wouldn't see them, you would just see the shofar. Absolutely. Other things to think about when we're wrapping ourselves in our talit or chanting what we just chanted? So one of the things I like to...
When you say tzitzit, if it's the wrap.
Like if you put tefillin on?
Well, no.
Oh, like what I do during, right, so to remind yourself, right, I don't, because I can't chant and kiss at the same time, but there is a tradition that when we say that word tzitzit, to go like this. I have not gotten that talent down, to be the one leading and kiss, but I do wrap it around my
That's
finger.
why I don't wear tallis, and I get all written.
Yeah, got all wrapped up. There is a tradition, right, to bring all the knots together. So one of the things I think about when I chant this paragraph of Ve'ahavta, which you probably know was not originally included in Reform liturgy, and when Reform Judaism had this pendulum swing of going to a little bit towards more tradition, it was added back in. So it's in this prayer book, but it was not in the previous Reform prayer books. But one of the things I think about is that I'm being reminded of the things that God asks of me, and no, I'm not going to do all of them, but my goal in life is to be the best version of me that I can be. So when I'm wearing my talit, that is what I'm thinking about not the ones that we don't do anymore, the ones that aren't obligated to me, but how these are the reminders of the morals and the ethics and the values of the way that I live my life. So one thing I think about when we are chanting this section. Did you want to share something?
How many?
Is that why you're like this?
What do them?
Huh?
What do the them?
What's the them? I don't understand.
You have him and her.
Oh, I understand what you're asking. Like the people who are non-binary in gender, is that what you're asking? Yeah, I mean, there are, we could have a whole class on what Judaism is for those who are non-binary. There are groups of people who are trying to, Hebrew's a gendered language, so they're trying to figure out what non-binary Hebrew could look like. And those who are non-binary, I think, would choose what is most fulfilling for them, would be my understanding, depending on what actions brought them the most meaning. I understand your question now. Yeah.
So I think, like when we read this paragraph, that was omitted from Reform Judaism for a long time and then added back in. To me, that the really interesting and meaningful thing about that is that the founders of Reform took it out because they felt that none of this, it wasn't relevant to our life anymore. It was just, but by putting it back in, enables us to find ways that it is relevant to our life. And to me, that's
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really an interesting, one interesting way to look at Reform Judaism throughout history is through our liturgy. The moments where Reform Judaism is a pendulum, right? We started like, let's be like our Protestant neighbors and get rid of all of this stuff that seems old, and then like, we understand that's not really what we wanted, right? And so we've moved back, and then I'll say the creation of this prayer book, although no, I was not part of the editing team, but I went to lots of sessions on it while it was getting created. There was a lot of conversation about how you're supposed to pick and choose for this prayer book. We'd be here till next Saturday if I did everything in the prayer book, right? They gave you options and you're supposed to pick and choose because there is so much in it that's relevant in our lives. And I think that's very important. I think other things that we are thinking about this morning, aside from the paragraphs from Torah that we chanted, that we just did, being relevant in our lives, is how the theming of our liturgy is very relevant in our lives. So you probably know there's kind of like this arc of liturgy that we go through in any service, whether it be evening or morning, that has to do with creation, revelation, and where we're going now, redemption, right? And I feel like we've been living in that since October 7th, right? Creation started with tohu vavohu, with a little bit of void and chaos. And now we're getting into that moment where hopefully we feel a little bit of redemption. Hopefully. We're still waiting. We're not quite there yet. And then it starts all over again, because once the time comes, we will recreate. And it's this big cycle, and we think about that in our liturgy, from creation to revelation, and now, as we sing together on page 240, that idea of God redeeming us at the shores of the sea. So let us sing together page 240. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef elem, nora tehilot osef elem, shira chadesha, shibchu geulim l'shimcha, al safat hayam, yachad kulam, hodu vehimlichu ve'ameru, Adonai imloch, Adonai imloch. Yisrael, Kuma be'ezra Yisrael, Uftechenu mecha, Yehuda ve'Yisrael, Go aleinu, Adonai Sevaot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai, Gaal Yisrael. Adonai Sefatai Tiftach, Ufiyah Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo v'Ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Abraham, Ve'ezra Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKotav Rav Lehoshia, Mashiach HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechokel Chaim B'Chesed, Yehakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Berofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishnei Ne'achar, Michamocha Ba'al Gevuro, Umido Melech, Melech Menit, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'chachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Page 248. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam, Keshem shemakdishim oto b'shmei marom, Kakatuv al yad nebiecha, V'kara ze el ze ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Sebaot, Melech kol haaretz, Kevodo, Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adoninu, Ma'adir Shimcha lekol haaretz, Baruch Kevod Adonai, Minkamo, Echad hu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu ve'Hu Yashmienu, V'rachamav le'nei kol chai, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elochai Yitzion, Ledor vador, Hallelujah. Ledor vador nagid God lecha, U'netzach netzachim kedushata nakdish, V'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush, Le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. I invite you to continue now with your own prayers. either the words you find on the pages until page 258, or the words you have in your own hearts this Shabbat morning. And I invite you to be seated whenever you wish. After this moment of silent prayer, we'll come back together praying for peace on page 258. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, barcheinu yotzreinu kulanu ke'echad, be'or panecha. Ki be'or panecha natata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha. Torat chayim ve'ahavat chesed, ve'ahavat chesed, u'tzedaka uvracha ve'rachamim, ve'chayim ve'shalom. Sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael amecha, ve'tov be'einecha levarech Amcha Yisrael B'kol eit u'b'kol sha'a Bishlomecha Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha Chen v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael amecha baruch ata Adonai hamvarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. I love singing that version with this group. Just even if I'm not feeling very peaceful, you just all make me feel extremely peaceful. I just love singing that version. But isn't that what we're supposed to do, right? I made a comment earlier about how the liturgy has changed, but the music has changed even more. That there are so many other tunes I could do of Sim Shalom, but it just makes me happy with this group to do that version of Sim Shalom. Speaking of things that haven't changed, let us now turn to Torah, which our service for reading Torah can be found on page 362. Steve, how are you feeling to carry? Anybody want to open our ark? David, do you want to open the ark?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Page 362. I'm going to invite David to come open the ark and Steve to carry our Torah for us. And as they come on up here, I'm going to invite everyone to please rise. You can get a chocolate, you can get a gelt, you can get a candy necklace, you can get a Smartie, you cannot get a lollipop, because I'm out of lollipops. No, but she took the last one last night, because I have to get more. Thank you, David. And then the button is on this side, if you remember. Yeah, you're doing it right, it just takes push up. Perfect. Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai, ve'ein kemah shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam, ha'olam, omen. Al ha'torah, ve'al ha'avodah, ve'al gemilut chasadim. Al ha'torah, ve'al ha'avodah, ve'al gemilut chasadim. You may be seated. Do you want your chocolate now or later? Or both? Yeah, David, did you take a piece of chocolate? Can I throw it? Can I toss another one to you? Let's see if that. I wasn't here. I gotta roll a little bit because I was away. So this week we are continuing our family story. I'm gonna be just doing a very, very bit of the beginning, which is on page, if you'd like to follow along in the maroon commentary. 166. I think this is the right spot. One 166, thank you, Henry. So I'll be chanting just the very beginning, where Yaakov sets out and makes his way to a spot where he's going to take a little nap and have a wonderful dream. I will say, anytime we get to a part in Torah about dreams, now that I am a parent, I don't know if anybody else when their kids were about, so Eliana is almost 7, right? And it's really exciting to share what happens when you're sleeping with people, right? It's less exciting, I feel like, as we get older. I don't know if I remember my dreams, I'll be quite honest, but like she really likes to share what her dreams were about. I have not decided yet if she is actually remembering something that she dreamed about or if she just is narrating some fun story that she's thinking about in the moment. But the excitement on the 6-year-old's face when she tells us what the dream was about is just like, I don't know if anybody has had that experience. It really is quite magical, and I have learned that my daughter is quite creative. She's got an imagination like no other. So I'm waiting for the day where she comes in and she says, "Mom, you're not going to believe it. I had a dream. There was a sulam going to the sky and there were these things climbing up and down," and I don't know. She is tragically Jewish, being the daughter of 2 rabbis, but I am not sure. She can sing through liturgy with us. I'm not quite sure she yet can take us through the Torah. Okay, let us join together. If you are wanting to join with me in the blessing for reading Torah, I invite you to do so. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach. Baruch Adonai hamvorach. Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. V'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch ata Adonai, noten ha'Torah. I think I've got it, actually, but you are more than welcome to join me if you'd like. You don't like the way I'm standing with my little triangle here? It might actually be this side that needs it. I think the heavier side will stay. I joke about prayer choreography, but it's so true. We are right here. Vayetze Yaakov mi Be'er Sheva, vayelech Harana, vayifka b'makom, vayalech me'avnei hamakom, vayasem mera'ashotav, vayishkav bamakom hahu, vayachalom, vehine sulam mutzav artza, verosho magia hashamaima, vehine malachei Elohim, olam v'yordim bo. Let us join together in our blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Some of you already heard me say this, but chanting the word dream, halom, this morning, I think I already shared at the beginning of Torah study that there's a video going around of the two daughters and the mother reuniting in the hospital with the father, and made me sob a little bit this morning, because as I was watching this video, my first inclination, I'll be honest, was like, let them be. Like, why are we videotaping this moment, and why are you putting it out there? That was my first thought. And then I listened to what they were saying. It was this family of 4 and their social worker, and the little itty bitty girl said, in very quiet Hebrew, used the word halom, a conjugation of the word halom to say what a dream it is to be in this moment. This little 3-year-old girl. So chanting that right there kind of got me a little bit. So I am thankful for the 13 and also the 10, I think 11 people from Thai that were of Thai descent who got released also. And I am also waiting for all of the others to be able to have that moment and say that they're having their dream moment. And as we think about the healing that's going to be needed from those who are still being held and those who have been released, let us think of their healing, our healing, and the healing of our loved ones when we turn to Mishaberach, our prayer of healing, which can be found in the inside back cover of your Torah commentary or on page 371. As a community, we think of Joy Lewis, Lucy Silva, Minabat Yentl, Mordechai Bendina, Rowan Hausman, Anna Carlo, Judy Roheim, Frida Tamaro Batliba Bela, Manucha Pasla Cherny Umosha, Gretchen Haynes, Ruby Smolinski, Jennifer Casson, Vicky Farstel, Storm Matthews, Terry Stern, Judith Von Brentnell, Kaylee Barron, Zisel Yentl, David Berman, Harvey Schwartzberg, Maxine Cohn, David Leake, Carol Smolinski, Maureen Corcoran, Barbara Stockner, Janet Gerwich, Danielle Riker, John Buddy Hury, Laura Swire, Susan Wasserman, Nevin Rose, Edie Bernard, Shelley Gilman, Larry Zachem, and Cindy DeMarco. If you are thinking of anyone in need of healing, if you'd like to share their name aloud, I invite you to do so.
David and Steve Gilbert. Mary McGrew.
Brady Mitch. Elizabeth Bill, Sarah Becker,
For the names we heard aloud, those whose names we do not know, and those whose names we hold in our hearts, let us together pray for healing. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Our Haftarah for this morning comes from Hosea and is on page
Which one, Sephardic?
Anybody can play this game, it's not just Henry. You could ask it as a question, but I don't know the answer, so let's say it as a statement. 189 is the page? Thank you, Vicky. Vicky wins. You get a chocolate later. We're gonna be, this morning's Haftarah is poetic. It's very poetic. Vicky, what page did you say? Thank you. You think I'd remember, considering I looked at it already today in this book. Very, very poetic. It's a little bit like when you read it in the English, which is what we're going to do this morning. Lots of metaphor, right? So you got to kind of think it through about what it means. We're not going to read the beginning, which is the direct connection to this week's Torah portion. I basically just read the same words when it says, then Jacob had to flee to the land of Aram, right? So connection. Sometimes our Haftarah has a connection. Sometimes it does not. Because I just don't want to read the entirety of this poem today, we're going to read the end of it. So we're going to read all of chapter 14, which is actually on page 191. And we're going to go around the room, and if you're comfortable reading a verse or two in English, I'll invite you to do so. If you are comfortable saying pass, I'll invite you to do that as well. So whatever your comfort level is, starting with chapter 14, we'll read 191, 192, and there's a few lines on 193. Again, if you don't want to read, say pass. I always start over here. Mystery Joel, who's not here, right? Because he's cheering on not LSU. Nobody knew that. Right, he's a Texas A&M guy, right? So we'll start, and if you want to read, go for it first, and then we'll go around. But let's first do our blessings collectively. And the blessing before the Haftarah, if you'd like to have two books in your lap, is on page 372 of our prayer book. So I invite you to join with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratza v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'invi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek.
Samaria must bear her guilt, for she has defied her God. They shall fall by the sword, their infants shall be dashed to death, and their women with child with children. Return, O Israel, to the Lord your God, for you have fallen because of your sin. Take words with you and return to the Lord. Say to him,
We're gonna pass it on. Steve, do you want to read?
I will heal their affliction, generously will I take them back in love. For my anger has turned away from them. I will also be to Israel like dew. He shall blossom like the lily. He shall strike root like a Lebanon tree.
David, do you wanna read?
Yes. His bow shall spread out far. His beauty shall be like the olive trees. His fragrance like that of Lebanon. They who sit in his shade shall be revived. They shall bring to life new grain. They shall blossom like the vine. His scent shall be like the wine of Lebanon.
Ephraim.
Ephraim shall say, what more have I to do with idols? When I respond, look to them. I become like a verdant cypress. Your fruit is provided by me.
Steve, do you wanna read? Miriam? Anybody over here wanna read? Do you wanna read?
You is why you declare these words. Evil is fruit, I'll take none of them. For the paths of the Lord are smooth, the righteous can walk on them, while sinners stumble on them.
The end.
The end. Not quite the end, but the end of this morning, yes. Lots of poetry here. I promise you it sounds better in the Hebrew, right? Like, let's see if I can tell you some of my favorite lines in the Hebrew. Where's the, I don't know if I can do it beautifully. I'm not going to chant, but verse 6 is, Echiyah katalya Yisrael, yifrach keshoshana, vayach sarasim kalvanon. It's just like flows so much more beautifully, but it's poetry here. But we know this give and take, right? It is language that we are familiar with in our Haftarah when it says like you need to return from these strayed paths you've gone on, and if you do, then this is what you will have with God. And we have some of the same metaphors: the idea of a Lebanon tree, the idea of being like dew, and this like God's spreading out shelter but between all of us. But it's this idea that we're familiar with, the shuva, right? Return. When we stray off a path, make sure we are able to return. Let us join together in our after Haftarah blessing, page 372. And I invite you to join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Tzor kol ha'olamim, tzaddik b'kol hadarot, ha'el ha'neman, ha'omer ve'oseh, hamdaber u'mkayem, shekol darav emet v'tzedek, al ha'torah, ve'al ha'avodah, ve'al ha'nevi'im, ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, shenatata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu, likdusha v'limnucha, lechavod ultifaret, al hakol, Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim lach, umvarchim otach, yitbarach shemcha b'fi kol chai, tamid le'olam va'ed, baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Steve, are you willing to return? David, are you willing to open the ark again?
Yes.
Oh, have a seat, have a seat. Yeah. Guys, I am just like, I take one weekend where I go and, David, have a seat instead. I skipped some stuff. Take one weekend where I go and officiate a wedding instead of leading services, and I forget what a service is. I apologize, friends. That's what happens. So 376 and 377 is where we are going before we return our Torah to the ark. And then in the batter's box are David to open the ark and Steve to carry the Torah back to the ark. But let us first offer prayers for our congregation, our country, and of course for the state of Israel, together on page 376 and 377. I invite you to join me. Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us: love of Torah, devotion in prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levarecha b'yirah na'avod. Let us continue in a prayer for our country, beginning with O Guardian. O Guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit. Amen. Page 377, let us offer a prayer for the state of Israel, both in Hebrew and in English. Avinu Shabashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'goalo, Barich et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Smichat Geulatenu, Hagen Aleha be'evrat chastecha, Ufros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Orecha v'amitecha l'rashecha, Sareha v'yoatzecha, V'taknen be'etza tova milfanecha, V'natata shalom ba'aretz, V'simchat olam yoshvecha, V'nomar. Amen. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen. Now I'm going to invite David to open our ark and Steve to get our Torah as we all turn to page 374 and we rise. Thank you. God's Torah is perfect, reviving the soul. God's teaching is sure, making wise the simple. God's precepts are right, delighting the mind. God's mitzvot are clear, giving light to the eyes. God's word is pure, enduring forever. God's judgments are true and altogether just. It's Chaim Hi Lama Chazikim Ba. To our concluding prayers, words of Aleinu can be found on page 586. Aleinu l'shaveh something else. Beautiful. As our prayers draw to a close this morning, we turn our thoughts to our loved ones who are no more. This morning, we remember two taken from us in the past 30 days, Betty Simons and Lee Kaplan. We also think of those who passed away during this past year, Lynn Schmulin, Jerry Black, Abraham Hutt, Ronald St. Pierre, Josh Yellen, Celestina Kovacevic, Margaret Shaw, Albert Frankel, Jerry Adams, Stephen Zuckerman, Erwin Shabe, Jeannie Samuels, Robert Berenson, Stacy Summer, Alvin Mykoff, John Carlson, Ruth Ann Miller, John Roheim, Barry Burton, and Shirley Judge. We also think of those who died at this season in years past and whose family members are observing the Yortzeit, the anniversary of death, on this Shabbat. Meyer A. Berenson, Harold Berg, Erwin Cohn, Robert Feldman, Juanita Henry, Leon Hirschberg, Sam Hoffman, Eli Jaffe, Michael Jasmine, Ada Kaplan, Thelka Teutsch-Katz, Mira Miller, Herman Moyes, Rocky Moyes, David Pyle, Petty Rothberg, Francis Rubin, Simon Rubin, Annie Saltz, Carolyn Rosenthal Schmulin, Jules Watsky, and Dorothy Weinstein. If there are others you are remembering, if you'd like to share their names aloud, I invite you to do so. For the names we heard aloud, those whom we hold in our hearts, and those who have unfortunately died too soon because of war, let us offer these words of Mourner's Kaddish, page 598, and I invite you to rise if you wish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirotev yamlich malchuteh, V'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dekol Beit Yisrael v'agala uv'izman kari v'imru. Amen. Yahei shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam Amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh. V'yitzadar v'yitzaleh v'yitzalal shemei tekudasha parich